Wow, ladies and gentlemen, can you believe we're only a couple weeks away from potentially one of the biggest changes we've seen in the government in maybe many people's lifetimes? Or is it going to be more of the same? I don't know, but a lot of people are on edge and we have a lot to talk about. You're either really excited or really freaked out. And let's look at the optimistic side of things right now. So, RFK Jr. could potentially be sworn in here. I think, what is it, the 20th, or what day is it?
Well, the 20th, it'll be sometime between the 20th and maybe a month later.
Okay.
It takes
Okay.
a little while for these confirmation hearings.
Yeah. So I think we should title this podcast RFK Jr. versus the world. And I
That's
mean,
true.
his
Yeah.
positions, we were talking, if he gets in, and hopefully he will. Maybe not for certain people, but anyway. So how is that going to affect the food industry? We're going to talk about the dark side of the food industry. We're going to talk about big money, cheap foods, seed oils, high fructose corn syrup, and what you can do to avoid that stuff. There's a huge sell going on right now at boomerboost.com that I just want to let you know about real quick, folks. This is the MyoTrol and the Boomer Boost. I left the Gladiator Barley upstairs. 25% off right now, certain products. Plus, if you do auto ship, you can get an extra 10% off. Click the link specific in the video description box. Some amazing products that will super boost your health. Bob, it's good to see you. You've been following the holistic approach to health and well-being and longevity now for many years. I mean, that's kind of one of your, I would say, callings in life, is to help people with their health and their well-being. You're doing an incredible job. But what is going on with you? Because you've got a lot of news you're going to share with us about this upcoming transfer of power.
Yeah. It's going to be very, very interesting. And we'll get into that in just a second, Rex, but that sale you're talking about is going on and be going on for, a couple of more days. And it's the best sale of the year. It's by far the best way to get things at a great price, because you get 25% off, and when you put it on auto ship, 10% more. And we'll give you a free shaker bottle. You'll get free shipping. I had a person that came into the office the other day, Rex, who stopped in on his way from a construction site on his way back home, and he was amazed at how much of a discount he got when he came here to the facility to get his products. He was like, wow, that is a really great sale. And so if people click on the on sale page from the products page, you'll see the whole explanation. Now we have this other one that's a 50% off sale, Rex, which is a group of herbal products that has our if you see it, it's the turmeric and olive leaf extract and ashwagandha, and that is a 50% discount right there. Really great thing to put into your medicine cabinet or to take it every day like I do. I take those products every day. Helps with your inflammation and your immune system, and helps with keeping calm as well. So really great stuff going on there. And then the other thing I want to tell people about, Rex, is, since we introduced our new product, MyoTrol, and the MyoTrol is a brand new invention that came about around 6 months ago. A scientist named Eric Kurtz in California came up with this. Eric's a very experienced nutraceutical developer, and he's a core researcher. He has an idea and he does the basic biological research testing in a lab, what works and what doesn't, and he uses computer systems, and he's working at the cellular level, and he's working with your DNA, and he comes up with extracts from plants that he can purify and concentrate that stimulate certain parts of your genes that have gone dormant as you age. And so as we age, we make less of certain proteins that help build muscle. We make less of certain compounds that help give us energy, and we make less of certain brain chemicals like brain-derived nootropic factor that help us focus and concentrate. And Eric is able to stimulate all of those genes again as if you were a 20-year-old. So people are gaining tremendous muscle. They're regaining their focus and ability to learn new things and do new things at almost any age. And what we did the other day was, because we've had over 200 testimonials about this already, just in a short period of time, and a couple thousand people have already tried MyoTrol. And we were just lucky Eric chose us to be the distributor for this product. So we're the only place that you can get it. And we've been collecting the testimonials, and you can see them on the site. But what is most striking is that there are people who are what you would consider to be older, 70, 80, 85 years old, who are all of a sudden de-aging. And we had this opportunity to get Eric on a Zoom call and read those testimonials. And then Eric commented on what it was that was happening biochemically with these people, from the point of view of the scientists that actually developed it. It took him 6 years to develop this product. And he gives explanation on these videos of how it actually works. And we've never really seen anything like that before, where we could give testimonials and then have the originating scientist give commentary on testimonials. So we'll make sure that you can share those videos with people, Rex. But I'll just give you an example. There's a 79-year-old man. So 79 is just really 6 years away from what's called the median maximum lifespan, the amount of time you'll live on average, even if you never get sick. So here's a man, 79, and he likes playing pickleball, and he started taking MyoTrol, and he started getting this tremendous energy and stamina and strength, and he started hitting these fancy shots in pickleball that they call an around the post shot. Now, I don't play pickleball, but I can imagine from tennis and racquetball. And he said all his friends were amazed that he could hit these shots. He plays in Texas, and when he gave this testimonial, it was still really hot in Texas. It was still, the end of summer. He plays for 3 hours in the morning, and he plays for 2 more hours in the afternoon now, using MyoTrol. Now, there was a movie called Limitless that a lot of us saw. And for us, this new pill, this MyoTrol pill, is the closest thing we've seen to a limitless pill, because in the movie Limitless, the person got this tremendous strength and stamina, but mostly his brain started working better. And BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, is stimulated for extra production by MyoTrol. And so we're hearing other testimonials from people like, oh my God, I got up and I did my to-do list, and I was so focused, and I had to make another to-do list. And we had this one guy who was 70 years old. He used to, once a month, he would go to his outside and do his yard work, and it would take him 2 days. He would work on it for 2 days. And he sent us a testimonial. He went out, he cut his grass over his front yard, his backyard. He did all the edging. He cleared the sidewalk. He worked in his flower bed. And in 2 hours, he was able to do all the work that normally took him 2 days. And so you're like this, Rex. His wife came out and said to him, oh my God, you're done in 2 hours? She's like, what are you going to do with yourself now? That used to take you 2 days. So he went for a bike ride. He went for a 5-mile bike ride after doing all that work. And this is a person, think about it, it used to take him, 15 or 16 hours of work. But now with this new focus and endurance, he just blew right through it. And so we were able to have Eric listen to that testimonial and then come on and talk about what had happened. And Eric went into a lot of detail about the body-mind connection and certain biochemicals that are secreted in the brain that affect the body, and how it's a two-way street, it's vice versa. And it was really fascinating to see. So we want to make sure that all the followers of the Leak Project have the opportunity to see that, which is extremely important, Rex, because this is a breakthrough. This is a massive, major breakthrough in the world of nutrition and health, because people die at the rate that they're losing muscle. And one of the main things MyoTrol does is it restores your ability to build muscle as if you were younger again. And so dying from muscle wasting as you age is a thing of the past. Right? It's not necessary anymore. And so people need to know this, because you don't have to look at more than 10 people before you're going to see someone who is old and frail and very thin, or very overweight, but barely able to drag themselves around. This is a typical human. 50% of the people in the country are obese, and we're going to talk about how people get this sick, okay? And then they start to lose their muscle and their focus and concentration, and they're just done, right? But MyoTrol changes that entirely. It totally changes it. So if you have an elderly relative, an elderly friend, or you yourself are over 35 years old, because you start to lose muscle at 35, you want to absolutely know about MyoTrol, and you want to know about these testimonials. The more you know, the more you read the testimonials, the better you'll be able to help other people, because you say, oh my God, man, you went through chemotherapy and you lost 65 pounds. Yeah. And the person was like, yeah, I'm so weak, I don't know what to do. Bam, get them some Gladiator Barley and MyoTrol, and they will be restored. There's no doubt about it. And we're helping people actively right now who are very thin, very frail, very sick, some of them in the rehab centers, because they lost so much weight when they were taking these new drugs for weight loss that were started as diabetes drugs. That some people lose so much muscle weight that they have to be hospitalized. And we're helping people right now that happened to, and that are now in rehab centers, and they're taking their MyoTrol and Gladiator Barley, and they're, it's revitalizing them. So anyway, that's what's going on. We'll make sure people have access to watch Eric, so you can see him and get to know him, right? It's really fun to be able to get to know a renowned scientist by watching him in an interaction, with me presenting these testimonials, asking him questions, and like that. This is the biggest breakthrough in the world of nutritional science in our lifetime, and we'll be able to get to actually meet Eric in these interviews. It's really fun, and you'll see, you'll be able to experience the product yourself. You'll be able to notice how much muscle weight you can gain. You can drop fat and lose muscle, have more stamina for bike riding, running, playing basketball, pickleball, whatever it is you want to do, go hiking in the mountains, and your outlook on life will change. You will not feel the same, and you'll be looking at life a lot differently, like, oh my God, I could live to be 100 in a healthy state. And it changes how you think about yourself, changes what you do, changes what you eat, and gives you hope. It's like, all right, I've started this business, but I'm 65 years old. I better get it finished by the time I want to retire at 70. Oh, no, do it till you're 80. Do it till you're 85, 90, because you're still going to be as strong, alert, and smart, or smarter than you were when you were younger. So this is good. And this takes us, Rex, to the whole thing about, how do people get in this debilitated state? Right. And if you look at the types of foods that people ate, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, 200 years ago, the way that people cooked and the type of food they ate was different. And people, even going back to the 1950s, Rex, when companies like McDonald's first started out, they cooked with healthy fats, and they cooked in a way that the food was much healthier, right? And it was later on with the massive introduction of seed oils, very cheap seed oils that people were now cooking with, safflower oil, cottonseed oil, this type of thing was much cheaper to cook the food. And unfortunately, it loaded up the food they were cooking with what's called linoleic acid, which is an omega-6 fatty acid that's highly volatile and subject to oxidation. And that's the issue with fats. Okay, so there's a book out that's called Fats That Heal and Fats That Kill. It's been out for a long time, but the gist of it is that good fats are essential, and they're really, really good for all different parts of your body. But as soon as you alter that fat, or you use the wrong fat from the wrong source, it's like a poison. And it's like this, like side by side, out in nature, you will find a beautiful weed that's called Chenopodium album, and it's also called goosefoot, and it's loaded with nutrition, and it's delicious, and you can pick it in the wild, steam it, put some grass-fed butter on it, and there's nothing healthier on the planet. But growing right nearby is deadly nightshade, and it looks almost identical. And if you don't know how to turn over the leaf and see which one is shiny and which one isn't, you could eat deadly nightshade thinking you were picking goosefoot. All right. It's the same thing with fats. All right. You think you're doing yourself a favor by buying some avocado oil at the health food store and you're cooking with it. But the fact is, the manufacturer of that avocado oil may very well have, which is most cases about 80% of the time, they have adulterated it with seed oils that are really, really bad for you. And they don't put it on the label, and the FDA doesn't make them put it on the label. And you think you're consuming healthy oils and you're cooking, I'm very healthy, I'm cooking with my avocado oil, right? I'm cooking with my olive oil. Perfect, right? Well, not so perfect. Most olive oil is also contaminated. And so this is the thing. What do I cook with? How do I eat, and how do I stand guard at the doorway of my health in a way that is going to make me not be one of those casualties of early onset disease like cancer, heart disease, a stroke, Alzheimer's disease, diabetes, all of which are being caused by what people are eating and the fact that they get so lethargic from all this crap that they can't exercise. And so their health just goes downhill. And what we're hoping here, Rex, is that as we get a new Secretary of Health and Human Services, right now, this is a cabinet position. He's going to be a member of the cabinet, and the FDA and the CDC and Medicare and Medicaid are all part of this Department of Health and Human Services. So the nominee, RFK Jr. is promising, and if people haven't seen it, just do a search for it online. RFK's agenda for the new Department of Health and Human Services, right? He's been promising the country that he is going to make changes so that our food will be healthier. And in other countries, their food already is much healthier. Other countries don't allow certain types of fats. They don't allow certain types of sugars. They don't allow certain dyes, which we know are terrible for people. And there's been little bits of slow change, Rex, over the last couple of years where companies are being called out. Big big companies, fast food companies that people think are health food fast food companies. They're actually not. And they've been called out by people that have started these nonprofit watchdog organizations and saying, hey, you have this dye in your food. And if you don't take it out, we're going to let the world know that your food is not healthy and get it out. And they're actually changing it. This is actually making change. But now RFK has specifically said we're going after the big agriculture that is using too much high fructose corn syrup, is using too many harmful seed oils. And we're going to start to mandate that we make changes in this regard. And the incoming president is all for it. Numerous congressmen and senators have stood up and said, finally, we're behind this, and this is what we're going to do. So this is the position we find ourselves in today, just prior to the inauguration, the hearings for the incoming cabinet members and their eventual approval of their nomination to get these cabinet secretaries in place that are going to do many things, as you can imagine, with a new Department of Justice, a new CIA, a new FBI, but probably the most impactful of all will be a new Secretary of Health and Human Services, and Dr. Oz is going to be part of this also, who's very, very knowledgeable about health and wellness, and he's going to come in and help with Medicare and Medicaid. It's going to help RFK in that regard. That's the biggest part of it. The biggest part of the budget, Rex, is Medicare and Medicaid, and Dr. Oz will be there to help out RFK Jr.
I'll tell you, if this takes place, wow. I remember, okay, so in the late 90s, actually, when I was living in Indiana at the time, there were a bunch of not commercials. There was a lot of news about GMO and how they needed to move to GMO because, there are just too many mouths to feed. So they have to do all these new genetically modified crops and have more pesticides on the crops, blah, 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 blah. And they were showing the good and the bad. And I was thinking to myself, oh, this looks really bad. And I know they were doing it before, but I think that's when things changed even more, was in the early 2000s and the late 90s with these big businesses and big food companies. And it will be so fascinating if this takes place, where all of this junk is regulated and pulled out of the food industry. It blows my mind that we pay more money for healthier food with less ingredients. You look at the back and the labels of some of these foods, and not only genetically modified organisms, GMO, and then the new one is this product may contain genetically modified bioorganisms or whatever. And I'm sure there might be some benefits to certain applications, but I want to know what I mean. I would much rather have natural organic foods, and then combined with the seed oils, the additives, the food colorings, and then kids are eating top ramen like crazy. When I was growing up, what did I eat like crazy? Top ramen, mac and cheese, KFC, Cheetos.
Yeah.
I can't believe I used to eat that crap, man.
I know. Yeah. The GMOs is real important too. That's going to be a really big issue. And I used to work at an agricultural research center when I was a kid. My dad had a PhD in plant science, and he was a research professor at Cornell University. And I worked at that center. And I was there when they came out with Roundup, right? And so they were like, okay, so what is this Roundup? Well, it's for killing weeds. It's very helpful. You can go to an apple orchard, and all around the base of the tree, you can spray this liquid, and it kills all the grass. Why is that good? Because now the tree has more water, because the grass isn't using all the water. And the tree has more water, and it grows bigger, and the apples grow bigger, et cetera, et cetera. And so then they said, okay, well, this weed killer, unfortunately, it also kills corn. And so we can't use it in the cornfields. So what are we going to do? Well, we better genetically modify the corn so it's Roundup ready. And that was the phrase for a GMO, Roundup ready. Okay. And that's, of course, where glyphosate is, where you see all the lawsuits, the $50 billion lawsuit about glyphosate causing harm to people, causing cancer, et cetera, et cetera. But that's where it came from. It was an effort to improve agriculture, but they needed GMOs in order to pull it off. And then they're like, oh, well, we can make GMOs for other reasons also. They'll be resistant to this bug or this or that, right? And it just kept on going. And so RFK is going to be tackling that issue as well. But it's a massive job, Rex. This is, you think about it, the food, right? Food and energy are the two biggest exports that the United States has. How is all of this new proposed change going to affect that? Because it doesn't just affect us, it affects the entire world that buys food from us. But again, there is models for it that we can see in other countries that have already said, we're not going to use this GMO, we're not going to use this glyphosate, we're not going to use this dye, and they're doing okay without it, right? But the shift needs to be made, and the cat's out of the bag, right? This is what's being talked about in the halls of Congress now. It used to be, oh, I'm not sure we want to really talk about this, this big food thing and big pharma thing, but now they're talking about it in the halls of Congress. And to a large extent, when RFK decided to throw in, his hat into a ring and said, I'm moving to this side because I want to get this done. And this is what I stand for. And he's always stood for that. And but now he has a platform, and now he's been nominated for the highest position in the field of healthcare, probably in the world.
It's going to be interesting to see how much change is made. Time's going to tell. I'm optimistic about it, and I'm not so optimistic that if things don't change, that I won't be surprised.
Yeah, I agree. It's like turning around an aircraft carrier. There's a lot of momentum going all the way back, into the turn of the previous century for this type of thing. And there's a lot at stake for numerous very large corporations. And unfortunately, the worst side effect of all of this is that it makes people extremely sick, and it makes everybody sick that participates in consuming seed oils and that have been processed in a certain way and that are consuming foods with too much sugar in them. The two things together have a profound impact on people's brains and on their hormone systems, and it makes them insulin resistant, which leads to diabetes, which leads to super high inflammation when you have diabetes, and it leads to all the attendant problems with high inflammation. And that's what happens to your cholesterol. So cholesterol by itself is not a bad thing. In fact, fats and cholesterol make up the cell walls of every cell in our body, including our eyes. The cell wall is made up of fatty acids, and that fatty acid, particularly, one particular omega-3 fatty acid, is what gives energy to your brain. Because when light hits your eyes, it hits this fatty acid that's in the cell wall in your cones and rods. And that fatty acid converts the light, which is a photon, into an electron. And electrons are powering your brain, right? And so your body and your brain get energy from light, but it requires the fatty acids to make the light energy into chemical energy. That's what photosynthesis is in plants. It's converting light energy into chemical energy in that photosynthetic membrane. Well, humans have membranes also, and they're made up of good fats. But when you get contaminated by bad fats, then what begins to happen is those fats get oxidated and it damages your mitochondria, which is making your energy. And every cell in your body needs a lot of energy to function properly. And in addition, Rex, the introduction of those bad fats, it shuts down a signal that tells old damaged cells to die off and get out of the way and allow for a new cell to take its place that would come from your adult stem cells. Those bad fats block that signal. And so those old cells stay around and they give off inflammatory cytokines and they inflame the whole area. And a lot of aging scientists, meaning scientists studying aging, they believe that that phenomena of these old cells that won't die is the main thing that's causing aging. And so you need to have a two-pronged strategy for this, Rex. One is avoid the bad fats, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, how to do it, what to use, what not to use, right? But also lower your inflammation, right, by ingesting the compounds that naturally reduce inflammation in your body, compounds like glutathione, compounds like trimethylglycine, compounds like superoxide dismutase, which your body produces so that it can keep this inflammation down, right? But as you age, you produce less of those antioxidants. And so you age faster as you get older. Right. But now you can take in by mouth in the powders that you're taking, Rex. There's superoxide dismutase in the Gladiator barley. There's trimethylglycine and glutathione and proanthocyanins in the Boomer Boost product. Right. So you're consuming large amounts of antioxidants. And if we were to check your blood for a biomarker of how much inflammation you have, it would be very, very low, and you would not be in danger of getting an adult onset disease related to inflammation, which is all of them: cancer, heart disease, strokes, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, all related to high inflammation. But because you've been doing this for a while now, Rex, your C-reactive protein measurement is probably very low. It's probably 0.5 or lower. Right. And of course, you two watch what you eat more than the average person. Right. And so for people watching or friends you have that are obese, overweight, have had a heart attack, et cetera, have had cancer, to get a good supply of antioxidants from the products Rex is taking is extremely valuable. But also, in terms of, people will say, well, how do I cook my food, right? What should I cook with? Well, you want to look back and say, okay, well, how did people used to cook food before these seed oils, right? Well, they used butter. Butter is a good, as long as it's organic, grass-fed butter that's not contaminated with pesticides, which is very easy to buy even at a regular grocery store, right? And it has what's called a high smoke point. So a smoke point is at what temperature does the oil you're cooking with actually smoke? And the higher the smoke point, the better off you are, because say you have something with a smoke point like tallow that is 420 degrees. Well, at 250 degrees, you can fry food or cook your food, stir fry your vegetables, right? And the fats have not been damaged. So here's the key thing to remember. You can start with a really good fat, okay, like butter. But if you heat it up above its smoke point, it totally changes the bond that's in that fatty acid. A fatty acid is carbon strung together and bonded together with hydrogen. And a cis fat is a string of carbon, and they say, okay, we have an omega-3. Well, it's 3 carbons and then hydrogen. An omega-6, it's a string of 6 and then a hydrogen, then 6 more and hydrogen. But there are different ways that the bonds are structured. And in its healthy state, it's called a cis fat, CIS. But when you heat it too fast and too high, it flips that bond and it becomes a trans fat. And the trans fats are highly, highly inflammatory. So when you're cooking, you want to cook with your oil below its smoke point. Right. And if you're not sure, cook it till it starts to smoke. And then next time, cook it less and cook your food below the smoke point so you don't create trans fats. Right. Now, you can't use the same oil over and over again, Rex, because if you do, even below the smoke point with multiple uses, it will flip the polarity of that bond. Right. Now, I know all this because I used to own a company called Fry It Right. And it was a fried food company that started out with really great oil that was all cis fats. And we had it computerized with kettles where we heated the oil over the course of an entire hour. We'd start with room temperature and you'd watch it go up to 100, 125, all the way up to 350. We knew the polarity was still the same because we had a testing device that would tell us if it was a cis fat or a trans fat. We would cook the food and we knew it was cooked in healthy fat. But we also knew that a week later, that same oil, they say, well, it's getting dirty. Yeah, it's getting dirty. It's getting loaded with trans fats. And we would change out the oil as soon as the polarity flipped. We would switch it out. And people love that food. It was healthy. And in places like Belgium, Rex, that's how they cook all their food, in these $40,000 and $50,000 frywall systems that are computerized with polarity testers, right? Well, there was only one of those frywall systems in the entire United States of America in 2004 when I started that company. One. But in Belgium, they don't cook food any other way. We commissioned the main chef, the celebrity television chef that they called the Frying Dutchman, and we brought him to Albany, New York, and he trained our chefs how to do this. It was the only place in the country where you could eat healthy fried food, right? And so, but you can do this at home by knowing, heat it slowly. Don't just turn the burner on high and throw the butter in. Turn it on low and slowly heat the butter, okay? And don't heat it up until it's smoking. Now, the other things, tallow is very, very good. Now, people say, well, what's tallow? Well, it's actually beef fat. It can come from other forms too, like bison tallow is very, very healthy. And it's fat from inside the animal that's been extracted. And it's extremely healthy. It has a very high smoke point and one of the healthiest foods you can cook with. And ghee also, which is butter that's been clarified. It's had the water taken out of it and other solids, and it has more flavor, has a much higher smoke point when you clarify it, and it's really healthy for you. And those are the foods that are good to cook with. Olive oil and avocado oil are also good to cook with if you know you're getting it pure. But if it's like 80% of the olive oil and avocado oil, it's contaminated with linoleic acid, and you want to minimize your amount of linoleic acid. And so the other thing is, what's the other deal with eating nuts and seeds? So people say, oh, well, I eat a lot of nuts and seeds, and that's really healthy for me, and that's a good, snack to have, and the more the better. But it's the same type of situation, Rex, I gave with the deadly nightshade and the goosefoot, right? There's really good seeds and nuts, and there's really bad ones. And you just want to be aware that there's only a few that are actually good for you to have. The main one being macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts are the lowest nut that's the lowest in linoleic acid, LA, of all the different nuts. Cashews are also very low, but you got to be careful with cashews. There's more lectins in cashews than we would like, which can cause damage to your intestines. Hazelnuts are also good. People will say, well, what about walnuts? No, not so much. Walnuts are very high in linoleic acid. And even though it seems like good, organic, healthy food, a walnut, well, so does goosefoot look like healthy food, and so does deadly nightshade look like healthy food. It's the same thing. Walnuts, macadamia nuts, in a sense, that walnut has properties similar to the deadly nightshade. All right. And so if you eat too many walnuts, your linoleic acid content is going to go through the roof. It's going to destroy the lining of your mitochondria, the powerhouse for your cell. And it's going to create massive inflammation throughout your body, including your brain. And so these are the basic things that people, need to know about this topic, and to watch for more and more and more information about this, Rex, over the coming year, because RFK is going to be focusing on it, and it's going to be all over the podcasts, shows like yours. Even the mainstream media is not going to be able to ignore these issues any longer. And hopefully it'll start to affect even members of the AMA that will have dietary guidelines that are going to be revised, where the new dietary guidelines will not be SAD, meaning the standard American diet, but they'll actually be something helpful that will alert people to the dangers of linoleic acid and high fructose corn syrup, not promoting it and endorsing it like we have now.
I am so for seeing America healthy again. That will be amazing.
Yep. Rex, I think that people sometimes can think that, oh, well, this is so much information. It's so confusing. What do I really do? And just make a couple of simple changes and say to yourself, I'm going to learn which seed oils are bad for me and which seed oils are good, right? Well, we already told you the oils that are good can be olive oil and avocado oil, right? But be sure they're not contaminated. And if you want to cook with oil, get some beef tallow. The best kind is the bison tallow. You can buy it online. You can buy it at Whole Foods, okay? Or cook with butter, but just know not to overcook it. Overcooking food is the second leading cause of cancer in the United States, even if you don't cook with oil. If you overcook meat like chicken or fish over 350 degrees, right, without any water, it glycates the fat and the sugar. They combine together and create a glycotoxin. So whenever you're cooking, whether it's with oils or not, do not bake food, broil food, or barbecue food over 350 degrees unless there's water or some other liquid involved. If you're going to bake chicken at 375, put it in a dish with some chicken broth or some water so that it blocks the glycation. The steam and the liquid block the fat from glycating the sugar, right? And just know this, even the CDC in its current configuration will tell you overcooking food, overcooking meat is the second leading cause of cancer in the United States, right? And if you're overcooking with bad seed oils, it becomes the first leading cause of cancer, even worse than leaving your shoes inside the house. And so this is a real important thing for people to know about, and it's not all that complicated. You want to know which nuts and seeds to eat? get macadamia nuts. People say, oh, well, they're so expensive. Well, you don't have to eat them by the handful, right? Know that macadamia nuts are a, a delicacy and they're really good for your health, right? And so eat them in small amounts. And you want to really do it right, Rex, get super nourished with the 4,000 enzymes that are in Gladiator barley, get super nourished by the amino acids that are in there, and get super nourished by Boomer Boost, which has 68 different nutrients in it that are all balanced. And if you're frail or you're getting older, get your MyoTrol and get like these people in these testimonials, where no matter what age they are, we have women, Rex, 2 women that went back to work on their farms who were in their 80s and were homebound. They had gotten so frail with MyoTrol and Gladiator barley. They're literally back up and about working on the farm, right? This is real. This is 2025 now. And Eric Kurtz finished up MyoTrol. It took him 6 years and he's released it. And it just comes in these little pills that are gel caps. And you take 2 a day and bam. And you need the substrates. Get your Gladiator barley with it. And it doesn't matter how sick you are, how old you are, how frail you are, you can restore yourself back to a much, much younger age. And nothing makes Eric Kurtz happier than hearing testimonials about people that are thriving on his invention. And so we make sure we stay in constant touch with him. Hey, Eric, we just got another testimonial about this. You know, we got 5 more this week, but here's one we want to tell you about. And they just keep coming and coming and coming and coming. It's no joke. You'll have that within an hour or 2. You'll have, it's going to be 3 separate videos that are each one a testimonial with commentary by Eric.
Perfect. Okay. And also, I really appreciate you extending the cell for Leak Project listeners. I mean, I know you're doing it for us, so thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad you had me on at this time. It's just in time to let the people take advantage of the sale.
Right on.
And call us, you know, call our 800 number. It's 861-4609 and give us a call if you want to talk. And we answer the phone Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And if you're in the area, if you live in the St. Petersburg, Orlando, Clearwater, Sarasota area, and you want to come by and visit, you know, call ahead of time and I'll make sure I'm here to meet up with you. We're at 5401 Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, Florida. It's right halfway between the beach and downtown on the main road of St. Petersburg and Pinellas County proper.
Yeah, man, you've got it tough out there. 70 degrees right now.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I got my long sleeve shirt on today, Rex, and I am going to the beach tonight. The beaches are real crowded now. You know, lots of people are coming down, even though we had those 2 hurricanes, and a lot of the hotels are still damaged. Lots of people are coming. They're staying at the hotels that are off the beach that usually are not that crowded, and they're just making their way to the beach during the day. And by this time next year, the hotels will be rebuilt.
I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt in the house. Hello. Right on.
I was doing that last night. It went down to 48 degrees last night, and I had a long sleeve shirt on while I was watching the football game.
Hell, I'd be wearing a tank top if it was 48. Right on, man. Well, Bob, thank you so much, and have a beautiful day. Keep being the change the world needs to see, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Rex.
Thank you.